missing from my neighborhood, I live on the south side of Oklahoma City, so there's a lot of infrastructure that's missing from my neighborhood. There's a lot of city support missing from my neighborhood. It's an area that has a lot of potential, a whole lot of citizens, but not a lot of development. I'd like to see more of that in the future. My favorite thing about living in Oklahoma City is it's a living, thriving community. It's got an amazing history. It's got an amazing group of citizens and the people. I mean, Oklahoma City is really on the rise. I mean, it's been here for a long time. It's really on the rise. I just love this town. I always come back to it. I think right now my favorite place is an old building that's about to be torn down called the Film Exchange Building off Southwest 5th and Robinson. If I could take something from that, I'd probably take the lintel that's in it that says Film Exchange. That's part of our story here on Film Row. That was the second of 3 Film Exchange buildings built in 1926. It was built at a time before Robinson and Capitol Hill grew. And so from that point forward, the neighborhood grew down that street, became something, and then through blight and time, it all disappeared as well. Today, it's the only thing left standing. So before they tore it down, I guess I'd like to take the lintel.
I work at the state capitol, and the thing that's missing there is citizens who will work together in the elected official capacity. We need people who will be responsive to the needs of the citizens in their districts and all around the state, who will work together, provide opportunities, and certainly expand that opportunity for art and culture. Well, the favorite thing about Oklahoma City, as well as all of Oklahoma, are the people, the citizens of our state, the individuals that make up our great state. We have a great diversity here. We have people who want to build the state and make their homes a better place. So that's certainly a wonderful thing about our great state. Well, since we're down on Film Row tonight, just the opportunities we're seeing in the recent years to do these different street parties and block parties and provide citizens the opportunity to get out and enjoy the different parts of the culture. And I wish we could move that all around the state, provide this opportunity for people all over Oklahoma.
Sidewalks.
Sidewalks, definitely sidewalks. Walkability is a big one. We live just
North of 23rd.
Near Uptown, and obviously it's about to be something great, but to get there, I think a big one is more walkable.
It's a lot about the pedestrian, because if they want to put shops and restaurants on 23rd, it's really hard to cross that street. And even with the median, there's not a lot of pedestrian crosswalks. So if you're on one side, you can't really get to the other side.
Yeah, that's a big one. I guess for me, it's the potential of so many things. It's not so much about anything one right now, but just all of the things that are to come. I mean, it's like, I don't know, continually there's just new announcements of development, of new buildings, things that are going to make the city better, stitching it back together. I think there's a lot of good core things right now, but it's stitching it together. Midtown's a big one for me. I think it has a lot to come in that area.
Mm-hmm. For me, it's the pockets. There's a lot of different neighborhoods that each have their own character. And so if you're feeling something one night, you can go find it in the plaza or in Bricktown.
Yeah,
it's
definitely.
It's easy to jump around.
You don't get tired of any of them because you're constantly jumping around.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I lived in Philly for a while, and I didn't have a car, and I loved that. And so I walked everywhere, and I do miss that here. I know it's a Midwest city, so it's built around the car, and so you can't really get away from that, but I definitely that.
Probably the Myriad Gardens, except when summer's really, really hot, you can't do anything, and it's winter when it's really, really cold, you also can't do anything. A favorite place that I've visited, it'd probably have to be Pennsylvania. Like all the historical stuff there, like all the museums and the Valley Forge and stuff, Gettysburg. I'm not entirely sure I would want to see there. I have an aunt and uncle who live there. They have a pool, so...
For my neighborhood, other than eligible men, I would say sidewalks. There's not enough sidewalks. My very favorite thing is that my sister and my 2 nephews live here. But I've only lived here 2 years. It's a very exciting city. It's just, I think, an exciting time to live here, and there's so much going on, and I just love it here. I guess I don't have a favorite place that I've visited yet. I'm still exploring. There's still a lot to explore.
Favorite thing about Oklahoma City? As a filmmaker, what I love about Oklahoma City is that, obviously it's a small city, but we have as many opportunities as the huge cities, as New York, LA. For example, we just got done shooting a teen superhero movie. We shot on a Red Epic, which is, it was what Amazing Spider-Man was shot on, so the fact that we have those same opportunities here is amazing. A favorite place in the U.S. that I visited is Austin, Texas. I love Austin, and really from just kind of the music and film vibe that they have in their art community, and that's something that I think we're growing in the last 3 or 4 years. I would just love to see that keep growing.
Probably like a Boys and Girls Club or a rec center. There's a lot of people that like just around my neighborhood that pretty much you just run up and down the street. They have like little basketball goals in front of them, but it kind of gets in the middle, like it gets in the street or it gets in the way of the driveway, so they don't have anywhere where they can just go play basketball or just be active. So that would probably be the one thing that's probably missing from my neighborhood. Other than that, I like my neighborhood. It's pretty cool.
Anything you can think of that missing?
No. Yeah, pretty much agree with you.
Okay, so then what's your favorite thing about living in Oklahoma City here?
I definitely have to say the people, because there's honestly like Oklahoma has some of the nicest people that like by far, even like visiting different places. It's just like nobody's like the people here just nice and always willing to have a helping hand with whatever whatnot. So
that and the sports atmosphere, being an athlete, this is probably one of the best places to be an athlete, because they get, no matter what level it is, whether it be high school or you could go to a Thunder game and you can see how crazy Oklahoma fans get about their teams. That they are very passionate. They are very passionate no matter what team it is. So that's a wonderful thing. I love it. I love the atmosphere that we live in.
I definitely agree.
Mine would either be Florida or South Padre, because both of those have beaches, and I love just being on the sand.
Yeah.
And it also gives me a great place to work out, because working out on the sand is so hard. It puts you in top shape. So that would probably be. And 2, I just love being in the water. That's great.
I'd have to say just being in the states that have pro football teams. I feel like if Oklahoma, stepped it up that one more notch and got that pro team, that'd be pretty awesome.
We do have. That would be. I think. I said the atmosphere. They're talking about Oklahoma's just a college team. No, we get a pro team.
Yeah.
You see what happened with the Thunder.
Yeah.
We get behind our pro teams.
Yeah.
So we're about to get a soccer team. Now we just need it. That's the next step, is to get a football team. And we got all that space. Like out in Edmond, we have all that space. So why not build a stadium? Take Seattle to other team. Why not?
I like the growth. I think OKC is getting better every day. My neighborhood needs more robots. My favorite place I have been to is Hawaii. If I could bring anything from there, it would be Hawaiian burgers. They are delicious.
I like that it's on the sort of like the upswing things like this, things like Live on the Plaza and Film Row and all that stuff. I just love going to these things. Being able to walk around the city is really nice, just because it's a normal thing to do, but when you go downtown or something during the weekday, there's no one outside. But when you come to things like this, everybody's outside, so that's really nice. And things like this are becoming more popular and more available to have people just be out on the streets. That's a tough one. It might sound dumb, but I wish there were more patios, like for nice days. Go have a drink, have some food, take your dog with you. More dog-friendly stuff, more bike-friendly stuff. But I have no complaints. I love Oklahoma City. I went to Portland a few years ago, and there was like a square in the middle of the city where they would just have food trucks come, and you could just during the day just go up, eat whatever you want, and they were there all the time. And I just liked that and the public transportation. I went on vacation. I didn't have to rent a car or anything. I could just hop on the train or hop on the bus and take it anywhere I want to go.
I love Oklahoma City. People is not a solid answer because that's not we can't help that we're awesome. What I love about Oklahoma City is how that's people stuff too. How excited we are to be here. I think that there's a really strong ground movement moving right now about just how passionate we are. These little shops that are growing, and there's a huge entrepreneurial spirit. And what I really admire is like Fowler Volkswagen being this really great sponsor, getting behind all of these ground movements. And so that's what I would like to see, are these larger companies. I think there's a lot of benefit for them to encourage the ground movement because the millennials are coming in and they're starting to have the money. And yeah, I think that would be really great if larger companies, but that's not the question. The question is, what do I love? I love our entrepreneurial spirit and the ground movements that are really making the change in our city. One of the things that I miss the most about our city in general is the lack of pedestrian acceptable transportation, meaning my feet. And I wish I could walk more places and it would be okay. I currently live probably 3 blocks away from Buy for Less, and I feel like I will either be assaulted or run over or just any number of things that could happen to pedestrians. I think it will happen to me on my way to Buy for Less. So I wish that was an option. I wish I didn't have to drive my car. And I know that there are sidewalks, but I just don't think that we're aware of walking people, and it just becomes a harder issue. Seattle is one of my favorite places to visit, and I just love walking there. I also love how free Washington, D.C. is, and that I can go places and not anticipate. I can just be there. I don't need to budget anything beyond food and travel. I can just go. And I think that in Oklahoma City we really do offer wonderful things, but a lot of them have price tags, and that's harder.
I think from my neighborhood, what's missing is a scale. Like, there's a certain intimacy that's missing. Like, I have a good I live in the Paseo district, and I have a good proximity to things like where I can eat or work and things like that. But what's missing is a recognition of someone who's walking or riding a bike or sitting in their lawn. So things are too big, and there's not a certain intimacy. The other thing that I think my neighborhood's missing is connectivity to other neighborhoods. So there's a lot of barriers with 23rd Street or I-235 that sort of cut me off from other neighborhoods that make it less likely for me to traverse somewhere else. And that's another big issue that limits my neighborhood, I think. My favorite thing about living in Oklahoma City is I don't know of any other city that kind of has the maybe economic and social energy that we have, that also has almost kind of a tabula rasa kind of blank slate of tons of greenfield sites, and so the potential energy that we have in Oklahoma City is greater than almost any other place that we have. So it makes the advocacy for placemaking, walkability so much more important than it would be in any other city. That is, for every ounce of energy we spend trying to educate the public and trying to create better places, it's so much better spent here because we have so much more space to use still than it would be in other cities. Most recently I visited Washington, D.C., and what I really enjoyed about that was that it had a density that I really enjoyed, and wherever you were, you felt like you were in a really good proximity to something else, that something was going on. Like you could stumble around, wherever you were, you could stumble around something exciting at any corner.
Yeah.
But it also had a certain laid backness and a certain slower speed that you wouldn't find in cities that were that dense generally. And I think that was kind of a combination that felt really special to me, that it was very friendly and laid back, and at the same time there was a certain element of surprise that could happen there, that anywhere you were, something unexpected could be there. And I think that's a matter of really diligent planning, that they decided at some point that it was going to be multi-centric. There were going to be lots of downtowns rather than one. We're going to be contain the city to a certain area rather than let it sprawl out, so that throughout the entire city there was a same density maintained. Nothing was too crowded, but nothing was too spread out. And I think that's something what I enjoy the most about Washington DC.
I recently moved downtown, and I would say public transportation is the thing that's most missing. Well, what I like most about living in Oklahoma City is it is being a part of the Renaissance, being a part of the change. I feel like anyone who moves downtown or who even moves to our city has the ability to create change, and it's a city open to change, and I think that's a very empowering environment to work in and to live in. I was gone for 18 years, and 12 of those I didn't have a car, so I really enjoyed public transportation. So whether it's New York, London, everywhere I've lived has had great public transportation that allowed you to get to work, to play, to anywhere you needed to go without having to have a car. And I think that Oklahoma City really needs to improve its options, not just for poor people on a bus, but also for everybody, so that we can actually help the environment.
We live in the Deep Deuce area, and I'd say it's one of the most interesting, most exciting neighborhoods probably in Oklahoma City. But with its size and the way that Oklahoma City works, it makes it a lot different than, say, like in Tulsa or whatnot. But not even comparing it to Tulsa, but say where we live, the one thing on a daily basis where we have to go to a park, you're going to go to the Maynard Gardens. You're going to go to, honestly, a park that's not in our area. Bricktown doesn't really even have a park really either. Like, actually a space designed to function and hang out like a park, but we need a park. Deep Deuce would love a park. They have the space for a park. They have the grass. They have everything you need. They have the void between the buildings, right between the Deep Deuce office, as well as in the urban roots. So a park would be what Deep Deuce would need. So yeah.
I agree. It might even bring in more younger families.
Yeah.
Your kids could play at the park, dog park maybe.
Yeah, dog park, and something something designed for people.
Yeah.
I just like the passion that we've seen since we moved downtown, or since I've moved downtown. I grew up in Piedmont, so a suburb, but down here everyone's so passionate about like bringing in more people down here and walkability and all that.
Yeah, it's kind of like the creative side, like it's
young
still
side.
different than most areas in Oklahoma City, but we're gonna call it our friends, but the downtown party people is one of our favorite things about Oklahoma City. But there's a passion and a movement going on that's thinking outside the box, and it's not quite, you wouldn't call it quite Oklahoman, but it's Oklahomans that are doing it, and it's done in a way where it's still, they care about people, but creatively caring about people, I'd say. The creative caring passion. Well, it's gone back to parks again. Visited Paris, was there for a month, and Paris is an amazing city. The buildings are awesome. Honestly, density-wise, it's incredibly dense. Transportation's amazing, but beyond all of that, probably one of the most unique and exciting things about Paris is their parks and the way that they have huge parks. But people feel it. The way people act toward parks,
But really the coolest thing is when you have these super dense buildings and you accidentally get lost in their streets, because Paris is known to get lost in. You'll just be between these buildings and it's a beautiful park, and it's between historic fabric. But there's something nice about the open spaces in cities. Kind of what I've learned lately, I went to a conference last Friday called Finding Center in Stillwater. It was a landscape thing, and Martha Schwartz came in. She worked out of London, and she pretty much, it was actually against, I'm actually an architect here in town, but it was against what I even do in saying architects design buildings, and we have our ego and we think that things should revolve around buildings. But one of the cheapest things of infrastructure for a city to build, design, and everything, because buildings are very expensive, is not a building. It's going to be a park. You build a park, and if you build it, they will come. It has its own revolving factor of you can implement that in neighborhoods, of how neighborhoods can revolve around the park, and they should. The city, the business life revolves around the park, kind of like in New York, but Oklahoma City is dying for parks. Like, we love patios, but we love patios so much because we can't go to a park because they kind of all suck. And if you go to the park, there's a park for adults, a park for children, but Oklahoma City needs more parks, and Paris would be a good place to model after. So.
You know, it has changed so dramatically since the time that I left from, leaving for college many years ago. And so my favorite thing is the innovation that is everywhere. It is so exciting that there's just constantly more things happening, and there's lots of growth, especially in the arts community, of course. That's my passion, so of course I'm super excited about that. But yeah, just that I feel like I'm always hearing about or seeing new things happening, and it's nice to feel like there's growth. Something that I would love to see in Oklahoma City, greater Oklahoma City metro area in general, is just, even though we are building our arts community and there are a lot of great things going on, there is still an artist camaraderie that I think that we have a lot of room to grow in terms of building that. I used to live in Nashville, and of course everybody there is a musician, and it was just an understood that whether you were playing backup for somebody or you were taking money at the door for somebody or whatever, that you were going to be at their show supporting them. And I would love to see more live music venues, so that there is a little bit more of like sort of a commonality of, well, of course, we're a band, so we're going to play some live place this weekend. Is it going to be this one or that one? And just sort of more choices. We have some great choices, but I would love to see so many more. And I think that would help build that artist community more. I do love Oklahoma City, and I'm so proud that I am from here. But I do love Nashville, and I do love just the live music venues everywhere. Third and Lindley and Nashville, and so different places like that, where it's just it's nice to have a lot of like great bars here and things like that. And don't get me wrong, karaoke is really fun. But I would love to see more opportunities for people to be able to play live music in more places.
Is there anything else you'd like to add about Oklahoma City or your thoughts?
Just that it's an exciting time. It's an exciting time to be an Oklahoman. So.
Perfect.
My favorite thing is all the things that are going on downtown. I think that the city is invested in a very exciting area. Many years have been neglected, but is now becoming an area where people can gather. It can become more of a community versus always suburbs. Since I really live in a very suburb area, I would focus more on this area because I think I'll probably be living in this area in the future. And in studying the development of cities and the things that would improve the cities, the gathering places where you would close a small area of a street where people could come and have their coffee in the morning and walk their dogs and just sit and read the paper. Those community gathering places are, I think, invaluable to making a city a home. That's a great question because I compared the community gathering places to Europe and Italy, and I've spent a lot of time in Italy. I'm leaving and soon to go back. And one of the things that it's just so enchanting about Italy is that there are gathering coffee places and gathering families and dogs. Everyone is welcome. And that is what Oklahoma City could have and really benefit from. I'm excited. I think that the momentum and the young people and all the things that are going on in downtown Oklahoma City is awesome. I can't wait to see more.
Well, I've lived inner city in an older neighborhood and I love it. Been here 18, 19 years. What I miss is sidewalks. Everybody complains about that, justifiably so. Lighting. We've worked with the city on getting grants and done some of that. But yeah, I'd like to see better streets, better sidewalks, better lighting. I think that's important, and that's what I'd like to see in Oklahoma City. The best thing about Oklahoma City, period, is the people. The people are amazing, warm, friendly people. I work for a major company, and anybody that comes here says the same thing. The people are amazing. No, I don't know. I love what the city. I've lived here all my life, and I love what the city is becoming. Pockets of great areas, and there are a lot of pockets in older neighborhoods that need to be developed. I would love to see that, and I just love the vibe in the city right now.
Sidewalks. That's all. I live near a park. I have good access to the city. Sidewalks are missing. That's all. I love the development of all the neighborhoods. It's been great to watch them pop up and just see different new people take ownership of a place and make it their own. So, and people who are invested in their neighborhoods. Probably more water access. Most of my favorite places are near the water. So if there was like more river access, different things, I don't know. We don't have a lot of natural water. That's all. But that's really hard to do.
I love the sightseeing. It's going to the events is really fun, and going to the Thunder games, it really gets me excited.
The school and going to parks and stuff like that.
I live in the Plaza District, so I think grocery stores and access to fresh and healthy foods. It's kind of a grocery desert, not as extreme as some other parts of the city, but it's still bad. I love the culture. I love that there's so many young people and everyone's open to experimenting and trying new things because it had kind of not died away, but it was in ruins and now it's coming back again, and so that's really neat to be in the middle of it right now. And my favorite place is New Orleans, and if I could bring one thing here, and kind of Live on the Plaza does it sometimes, but it's the just atmosphere of vitality, and it's the street performers, and it's the food trucks and things like that, and we're well on our way to it, but we can still get better in that way. So there you go. Nothing too exciting.
Cool. My favorite thing about Oklahoma City is just watching it change and watching it really grow and develop a personality. And I've had so many opportunities to go to other states and work in other places professionally. And I always thought that this was a place that was worth investing in. And I think it's so fun to watch that investment, not just my own, but so many people investing in it and that come to fruition. I like to just go to other cities, and I don't specifically have a favorite thing, but my favorite thing about going to other cities is just walking up and down, especially in their downtown areas, and there's tons of retail and places that you can go in, and I like to just wander, and I love that, seeing the unique things, whether it's local art or local retailers, and just having a place to discover, and that you can just keep wandering and be 2 miles down the road and not realize that you've gone that far, and I love that. I feel like that the space is here and the will is here, but I don't know whether those spaces were always filled or it was a concerted effort by the people in those cities. It's hard for me to say because they've been like that every time I've been there, but I definitely think that it is something that can happen here in Oklahoma City. It's just, for us, it will have to be the investment of lots of people who say, yeah, let's have that in our city. I feel like that our neighborhood, because it's on the edge of a rural part of Oklahoma City, is disconnected from the city to a large degree, and that the things that I love about the core of the city are not
in our area of Oklahoma City, and everything from restaurants to grocery stores to walkability, all of the things that I love about the core, I would love to see in other parts of the city.
In my neighborhood, I would say the education. We need to really start focusing on the education in the neighborhood, and also just getting more programs to help out the adults in the neighborhood that don't have the skills, to go out and, just working, to be productive in a society. Oklahoma City area, I love my neighborhood. I love the heritage of my neighborhood. I went to Douglas High School. I'm from the northeast side, so I love their heritage in the community and camaraderie that we have in the community. With the Thunder coming here now, most of the stuff is getting there. I guess like a nightlife type deal. Like when you go to Houston and California, the clubs open a lot later, and also like more upscale, more dress code. Actual, like it's a real business. It's not like a ripoff. Like if you do VIP, you get to skip the line. It's not you get the actual experience when you go into the the nightclub facility. You have restaurants and things like that. KD's has that, but they don't have like an actual dance floor and restaurant for patrons to come in and try to enjoy the evening. So that's something I like to see. At least out here in Bricktown, at least.